Hey guys, so we talked about genre as one of the three parts of the writing situation. There is, of course, the writer, and then there's the audience, and then there's the genre or the text in the middle. And a lot of times those genres come with their own rules and their own features and can kind of tell you what you can and can't do in that particular situation, what rules you have to follow with that text. So we're going to start with just a little introduction and kind of talking about what I mean when I say like what genre is. I think there are like some assumptions that are true, but are more, I guess, like just kind of this like scratching the surface of what we mean when we say genre and what genre can pertain to and what it influences. And I think sometimes we don't think a lot about it because, again, like what we've kind of talked about is that in a class sometimes it feels completely separate from the writing that happens like everywhere else, and it feels sort of in a vacuum and the rules are sort of handed to you, so um there's not much like choice that you have to make and really thinking about the genre that you're using. And I think sometimes we just assign genre to these big categories like literary or text-based, like whether it's horror or sci-fi or rom-com, or a genre of music. And in those cases, like, you know, when you hear what that genre is going to be, what the expectations are. Like if you're going to make a horror movie, you know kind of how the plot's going to go, what's going to be in it. There's a couple of kind of plot lines that you can kind of expect to see. So you can kind of see how it works. But I think sometimes we just kind of stop there and we kind of assume that genres are just made up by like these like fixed rules that you have to follow all the time and that they never change. Like once you learn how to write a certain kind of essay, the rules are never going to change. Once you learn how to create this kind of presentation, um, those are the rules. It's never going to change. Once you learn, how to do this, it's not ever going to change. Or that everything fits neatly into a genre category. And it's a lot more, I guess, kind of muddled than that. What genres are more of an explanation of more of a social interaction. Genres represent ways that we've come up with to communicate in different situations, rather than it being like the genre exists and then we figure out how to use it. We create the genres, we create the text, we create the means based on the need that we have in that situation, based on what our purpose is and our audience. And sometimes the rules can change. For instance, if you think about a newspaper, right? Like newspapers, like news is for like getting information to a mass number of people. So if you think about how the news is set up, like the first thing you look for is the list of topics. Like whether you want to read, sports or politics, depending on what kind of news it is, or what kind of like newspaper it is. You pick a topic, and then within those topics, I'm looking at the paper version, but you probably get your news from the website. If you like look down, you have the headlines, and that's sort of how like the next step down. Like you find the topic, you find the headline that catches your attention, and then you read the first paragraph, the blurb. The first paragraph has a set of rules to follow too. It has to tell you who, what, when, where, why of the situation, of the event, what happened, and it always is reporting an event. There's no extra details. If you want to read the details, you can either click the link to read more, or if it's print, you go to page like 5E. And that's when you can get all of the rest of the details of the event. And it's organized that way because it's getting information about what's going on in the world or in the community or city or state to a lot of people. So it lets all these really diverse people, this large audience, pick their news by topic, by headlines, see if this story really fits what they want to read, and then, gives you the details later. It's very scaffolded, so that people can navigate it that way. And we didn't have those rules first. They knew what they needed it to do, and they created the genre around it. And then, we have newspapers, and then, now we have news sites. That genre kind of changed a little bit. Genres kind of continue to evolve. Like we can adjust and change things as we go. One of the genres we'll talk about later is an academic blog, which I've probably heard, don't ever read blogs. But it's not always the case anymore because you have to pay attention to who the author is, because when blogs first came out, they were just web blogs. They were mostly just like people's diaries, and then they evolved. People really started reading people's blogs. Then they started focusing on like an interest, like a news blog or a sports blog or a movies blog, like different special interests. And then academics who, only write like articles really so that other academics can read them. They're in journals that you have to pay money for. Started keeping their research on their own blog so that people could find it on the internet, like easy access and in digestible terms. So that's a new genre that kind of came about because of a new need, and a new platform. So the rules change as the tools change. It's more about whether it's fulfilling that situation's needs than just always following the rules. But the rules exist for a reason, because the rules help let readers know what to expect, how to recognize that genre. That's how you knew, which ransom notes worked and which didn't, because as the audience in that situation, you knew what to expect. And the rules help create those standards, those expectations. So when you go to work in this genre, you have some wiggle room, but then that you have these rules that you have to follow, so that there's kind of a standard for this text, so the audience knows kind of what to expect.